Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sree's daily global COVID-19 show. My name is Sree Sreenivasan, and I'm the Marshall Loeb Visiting Professor of Digital Innovation at Stony Brook School of Journalism. This is episode number 75 of this show. That means we've been on lockdown in New York for 75 straight days, and we have had the opportunity to bring people from around the world into this conversation. I am so honored to be able to do that with you. We're live right now on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. Please tag your friends. Please share with them as we bring you this very special episode, our 75th episode. I keep wanting to say 75th anniversary, but of course it's not anniversary. Somebody said call it dayversary or dayiversary. Whatever it is, it's our 75th day, and we are so honored to be able to bring this conversation to you. This is our open mic. We want to hear from all of you. We want you to call in if you can. If you're on Facebook or on Twitter, you have on Facebook or on YouTube, you can see the link, the StreamYard link, that you can then log on and be on the air with us if you'd like to do that. Totally optional. Otherwise, just comment and tell us where you're watching from. Tell us how you're doing. Tell us where you are. Tell us what the last 75 days have been like for you. These 75 days are based on how long we've been in lockdown in New York, but some of you have been on lockdown way longer than that. Some of you way shorter time than that. And we can all learn from each other, which has been the purpose of the show from day one. Now, before we bring in everybody, and we also give you a chance to meet my fabulous producers, Rose Horowitz and Vandana Menon. I hope you're following them. Rose Horowitz 31 and Vandana_Menon on Twitter. I do want to do some of our housekeeping and paying those bills. And our ads are so wonderful that you will want to stay tuned right through them. So first, we want to thank our new sponsor who's with us. We're very grateful to Prayamvada Sustainability Consulting. This is an organization that is doing such important work in the area of sustainability. And this is an opportunity for all of you to learn about their work. Please check out the website clean-futures.com, clean-futures.com. And let me tell you a little bit about the organization. It was founded in 2012 by Sonali Chitre. Its mission is to facilitate sustainable development and grow the green economy. PSC believes that deploying clean technologies provides a viable solution to solving the climate change crisis and creating sustainable development. Green technologies reduce greenhouse gases, increase energy efficiency and use of renewable energy sources, provide sustainable infrastructure and transportation solutions, promote better waste management and recycling, increase building efficiency, reduce pollution, improve public health, and of course, create green jobs. Let PSC become the Chief Sustainability Officer of your company. So please check out clean-futures.com, clean-futures.com, and we're very grateful to Sonali Chitre for that ad. If you'd like to have an ad with us, please email me, sree@sree.net. My email address is right on the screen. We have a global audience. You're about to meet them, and this is your chance to talk to them. So if you'd like to support us, please email me, sree@sree.net. But we also have other promos that we want to show you. One is from our partners at Muckrack Academy. We are doing a free certification course in June, early June. It's an on-demand course that you can take in the comfort of your home. More than 3,000 people have already signed up. Go to mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social. And this is a course that's aimed at journalists, public relations professionals, but really anyone can take it, any age above 13, and anyone who wants to get better at social. One of the things that I wanted to do in this time of terrible unemployment and terrible pain all over the world is offer something free that people can take all over the world. And 3,000 people have already signed up. And our friends at Muckrack, Greg Gallant and Mike Schneider, stepped up and said, we will produce this with you, and you can give this away to everybody in the world. So if you know someone who could use some social media training, this is their chance to sign up for this free class, mrac.co/social. And I know you'll learn a lot. I'm learning a lot, because even at this time when a lot of people know things about social, there's so much going on. And this will give you a baseline for everybody, and we can all be on the same page. So please check that out for sure. And please don't forget that my work, in addition to being a professor, is working as a digital and social media consultant. And in these 75 days, we've also become a virtual events company. And our company, Digimentors, is doing all kinds of things that you'll want to know about. We're converting in-person events into virtual events. We're creating this kind of live web show for other organizations and for other individuals. We're doing consulting, training. We can be 10% of your production team or 110% of your production team. Our prices are very reasonable, we've been told. And please talk to us before you cancel or postpone your conference or your in-person events. Maybe you just need some advice. Maybe you need a whole production team. We have all of that. On Saturday, we're doing an event with 50,000 teachers. And that's a global event. My team, the Digimentors team, is putting that together. And we're so honored to be able to do that. And we are also doing projects. We finished a 3-day conference for Princeton. We're doing all kinds of things all over the world, dozens of events. And we are just learning every day. And we want to share that with you. And if you'd like this kind of show, we can talk about that too. And you can have your own show so easily. So please join us and email me, sree@sree.net. Now, let me bring on my guests for today, who also happen to be our producers. And we also want all of you to log in and join us if you can. If you'd like to be on camera, we'd love to have you. We'll give you that URL for a company called StreamYard so that you can join us. But first, let me bring on board our two producers, and they are right here and ready to go. They've been working so hard for these 75 days. Please welcome Rose Horowitz and Vandana Menon. Hi, guys.
Hi. Hello.
How are you?
Good, good. I can't believe it's 75 days. I was saying, like, how many months is that? Yeah. Oh, it's like, yeah.
It's 2.5 months,
it started
right?
March 12th on a Friday night with a call that Sree made to talk to Dr. Lippy Roy.
Yep.
And I thought I was intrigued, and I signed on to do this for 75 days. So here we go.
Yeah, you didn't know it was 75 days. You may have thought it's maybe a month, 2 months, but here we are. And the intensity of it, of what we've built together. I'm just so grateful, Rose. You're amazing. Everyone should know you're a journalist, you're a freelance writer, and you created something called #WomenToFollow. What is that?
It is a hashtag that trended as I was trying to call on women to amplify the voices of other women on social media, because too often we're always hearing men, just like we hear all male panels. And the statistics for a study that was done showed that not only do 72% of the male reporters in the DC area retweet and follow men, but it was the same percentage for women, which really shocked me. And I put out this hashtag and said, let's get this Twitter party started. I'm going to name 3 women and ask, I named, several other women to name more, and it just exploded. And then I've taken that idea and used that to create profiles of, I think it's been 16 women, and interview them and talk to them about how they got to where they are, what obstacles they face, what advice they have. So
that's great. And you are also a writer, and you're also so interested in poetry. One of the things that we'll talk about later is how you took this show, which was about COVID-19, and brought in so much poetry. No one could have predicted there would be so much poetry in the show. And I'm so grateful for doing that, because it's given people a way to kind of think about the value of poetry and creativity. And you did a fantastic job. I'm just thinking of things like having Nikki Grimes on. You also had Sapphire, the writer, the novelist whose book Push became the movie, the Oscar-winning movie Precious, and who is an amazing person. Just so many examples like that. And you've been
and more to come. I've got one planned. I've got one in the works. So.
Okay. A warning to everybody: we're going to have more poetry on this disproportionate amount of poetry, and that's wonderful. And we're so grateful to you. Let's go to Vandana and thank her for all her hard work. She's in Philly. We should say Rose is in Connecticut. And so we've got the Northeast corridor kind of covered for the most part. But Vandana is a recent graduate of the University of Pennsylvania. Talk a little bit about your work and then tell us about what it feels like to be 75 days doing this.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been 75 days. It doesn't feel that long. But at this point, I've lost track of time in general, what days what and what's been happening when. But yeah, I've recently graduated, have been, I used to work, I'm a reporter, I used to work in India, now China, and I've been freelancing here, and that's also been an incredibly interesting experience in the middle of a pandemic, figuring that out. So it's been really cool to be part of this.
And what have you learned about digital, about technology, about yourself in these 75 days?
Technology has absolutely been the greatest connector. I simply cannot imagine how people in the past went through pandemics, which as I learned on the show, happened quite often in the past. And what have I learned about myself? I think every day I'm learning how to be more patient. I think that's been the biggest learning challenge. Sometimes things just aren't in your control, and you have to learn how to roll with the punches.
Yeah, and that's certainly part of it. So what else are you working on when you're not doing this, Vandana?
I'm helping write a newsletter for this great digital publication called The Juggernaut that focuses on South Asia and the South Asian diaspora here. And I've been lucky enough to write for them. And so that's been really nice reporting from here.
That's great. And now you're quarantined sort of by yourself for the most part, right?
Yes, I am. My roommate, she has family in New Jersey and has been staying with them. Though I am actually moving out, so I'm moving in with another friend and that's going to be exciting. And I'm really looking forward to being reunited with her. And where we've already got all of these plans to have TV dinners together, basically. But that itself is exciting.
So that's exciting, and that's the opposite of Rose, because Rose, tell us about your family situation.
Well, we have 4 children, and 2 of them were away in college when this hit. One of my son, my youngest, they're twins, and so one was supposed to be swimming in a national swimming meet in Greensboro, North Carolina, and the night before he called us and said it was canceled, that he was supposed to go. And when he came home, he said, "I'm in the best shape I've ever been in 2 months, and I have nowhere to swim." So he's home, and my other son, who is a aspiring actor, musical theater major at the University of Hartford at the Hart School of Music, is also home. And so he got set up. We got him some padding, and he was doing his dance classes, ballet and jazz down in the basement. And we heard him singing at all hours. And then they both now have internships, fortunately. So, and then my daughter, who lives in the city, came to be with us to get. She was in a walk-up, so she, it wasn't easy to get outdoors in the spring. So she's been joining us. So she's online. So the question is what room? Who's going live now? So who gets priority? So I think my son just got off his Broadway live stream show, and I'm on this one, and my daughter is planning to be in this room at 8:00 in the morning talking to her students. And my son, who works in Washington, is home for the weekend. So yeah, for the week.
It'd be fair to say, though, that a mother's work never ends, right? You're feeling the joy of having your family there, but a mom's work never ends.
Yeah, no, I'm getting a lot. They're old enough that they can help with dinner and clean up, and I'm lucky enough that they indulge me and he helped me do some mulching in this new garden that I have, which has lots. I discovered we have a poisonous weed yesterday called American pokeweed. Very pretty, but I kept thinking it was a lettuce, and then I read about it, and they said, you better take it out and wear gloves. So anyway, so it's always busy, and so when you want to get out away from everybody, you take a walk around the block and say, "See ya." It's all good.
Yeah, so I'll just tell you my story. If those of you who've been watching over the 75 days, I was in a very different environment. Some people have thought this is like a virtual background or something. This is not. This is really the space here. And what happened is that I was doing about 17 hours of live web streaming every week because of this show, plus our Sunday New York Times read along, plus all these other things that we do for our clients, plus loud Zoom calls. The family got so sick of it, they called up our neighbor and friend and colleague, Rajni, whose family was actually they were not in New York, they were on Long Island. And so they called them, and without asking me, they called and said, "We really need you to let Sree use the apartment, because otherwise we're going to kill him. And then we'll need to use the apartment for a wake and a funeral service. So you get to pick what you want." So they
look how peaceful. It looks very peaceful. It's very calming.
Rose is jealous because this is the opposite of her situation right now.
My daughter just left the room for a Zoom call. My son is still, but who would have anticipated? We were supposed to be empty nesters, but it hasn't. We're still waiting.
Very, very cool. Well, we're so happy to have you here. Let's do one of the features of the show is where we go around the world and see who all are watching us, and we'll comment on some of them. And just a reminder, folks, if you'd like to be on the air with us, if you go into our Facebook version of this, you find me on Facebook, you find the Facebook link, or go to YouTube, and please subscribe, youtube.com/SreeNet. You'll see the archives and everything else, but there you will be able to find the link in the description on how you can join us on the air in a few minutes. We're going to have an open mic, and you can call in and you can be on the air with us, which would be really, really cool. If you want to do that, we'd love to have you. We'd love to hear from you. But let's do our global tour. Here is Jonathan Borstein. He's always first. He's watched for 75 straight days. I don't know what's harder, listening for 75 straight days or producing for 75 days. Listening might be harder, but he's amazing. He's got his mask on. We're so grateful, Jonathan, for your support and being here every step of the way. Anand's watching from Andhra Pradesh. And he says, hello, Andhra Pradesh is in southern India. We do want to say to everyone who's wondering, if you have over the several months that we've been doing this, or the 75 days, how come there are so many people from India? Because of a brand called Scroll, SCROLL.in. It's one of India's best news, culture, and analysis websites. And they are live streaming this to their audience. And so they have lots of people in India and elsewhere. And so that's how we have had this kind of much more Indo-centric audience than might otherwise have been expected. Let's see, Stefan is watching. He's also backstage. He's going to join us in a little bit. And he says, COVID-19 call. Jonathan's watching from Union Square. Geeta says 75 days. And wow, that's absolutely right. Anand says, I'm looking smart. Well, thank you. I think it's because I'm wearing a shirt as opposed to the ratty t-shirts I wear. I appreciate that. Pradnya, a good friend, is watching. It's actually an anniversary today. Joe and my 12th wedding anniversary, says Pradnya from Silver Spring. Stop watching and go enjoy the anniversary if you can get out, of course. But thank you for all your support. We are very, very grateful. And Jonathan says happy anniversary to Pradnya. And Michael is watching and says, greetings, Professor. How is it going? And he's joining us on LinkedIn. That's one of the things that we've been able to do, add LinkedIn to this process and bring in comments like that. And Roberta says, so exciting to see you're celebrating your 75th anniversary, day-anniversary. All of that is something that people can find. And Twyla is watching. Twyla is a great supporter and a dear friend. We hope she's found the sound by now. And Geeta says, got to step out for a bit. Sorry, best wishes. And that's one of the things that's going to happen, as you know, is that as the country opens up, the attention we have of people is going to wander. Vandana, have you thought about that and how we adjust the show going forward? Because right now, we've had no problem booking guests or anything, right?
No, I think about this because whenever I go online, there's something happening. Like no matter what, there's something happening. So I feel like there's a little space online for people to be a part of, and this definitely feels like a community. It's so nice to see the same people, see people that I recognize now, and people that I've interacted with just by virtue of helping produce the show. It's quite incredible. Yeah, so even if like this particular community didn't exist, it's nice to know that it's happening simultaneously.
Sure. And the three of us, I've known Rose for a longer period of time than I've known Vandana, but we've all gotten to work together very closely in 75 days, even at a physically distant level. Let's go to Rose. Your thoughts on all of this?
I guess, I said, I think in a tweet today, is anyone used to this? Is it, it's still, we went to the beach for a little bit here the other day, and we wore masks, and, you're watching people. No one, it's very rare that people really are friendly now because, you keep your distance. Today I visited my brother in his backyard, and he, spaced all the chairs, so that we could be 6 feet apart. But I guess, this is going to be a long way, because it is such it's a novel virus, and we're still learning every day about it. I think going forward with our show, I guess, we should start talking to people like we did the other night. We spoke to some community pastors and a state rep from Connecticut. How do we go forward from here? What are the steps? How baby steps? And we can't ask the question, I think, on your New York Times show, your Cornelia, what's her?
Corey Dean.
Yes. Said she doesn't like all these stories about what's going to happen in the future because no one knows what's going to happen in the future. But I guess I was listening to that and thinking, well, the reason we keep asking what's going to happen in the future is because, of all this uncertainty. So it makes us like, wait a minute, when is this going to end? What's going to happen? You just can't plan anything. Mm-hmm. And I guess just I'm grateful every day that, we are, my family and people are well, and a few people I know who did have COVID that I know about recovered. One friend whose mother was in a nursing home she did not make it, but I guess and there are bright spots about this kind of community that we've built, and I do see other live streams, but like the fact that this is every day, I think apparently the comments we get is for some people this is a great check-in for them and a place to belong, which is great.
And so touching that the way they look at that. And by the way, one of my friends says he knows that I'm alive because he sees me whenever he tunes in. He sees that I'm there, and he's joking around, but that's sort of the feeling, like, especially in New York. I mean, both of you are in relatively safe places, where we became the epicenter of the epicenter. You all remember when we started, we were having these interviews with our friends in Italy and other places because we kind of felt bad for them. Like, look at Italy. They're like, they need so much help. Let's do all we can. And do you remember we had an episode where we had a doctor who had just come home from the front lines in Italy and just talking and sharing. She was so wonderful, that Dr. Daniela. And then we didn't realize that we would become the center of all of this and the epicenter of the epicenter. And New York became so dangerous so quickly. And it all happened in real time.
It totally changed, the purport. Like, I think that on the news, I kept seeing that the U.S. had more cases than the 5 top countries altogether. I think it was,
absolutely.
UK, the UK, France, Germany, Italy, and Spain, maybe, for Europe. And it's just, it just seemed to happen suddenly, and you're right. We were all worried. Oh, the Italy, it's such and many people have been to Italy, or there's so much culture that we appreciate about Italy that it was terrible to think that was happening, and then to read, and now we're hearing these kinds of stories now where you have to choose. You have to play triage. Who are you going to save in these when you're in an ICU, what do you do?
Yeah, and that's so sad that became. Let's look at some of one of the things we've tracked on a regular basis is all these stats coming out of the FT, which has done a fabulous job with data visualization. And you look at this and you say, look at where the US is, right? Look at this range of these numbers, and look at that 91,000. Like, it's hard to fathom those numbers. And look at countries that typically have very bad health outcomes, including India, and how much better they've done as of now. And you look at you look at the United States. There were times, by the way, folks, when New York had more cases than any other country except the United States. Like, it's even hard to imagine, right? One of the questions we ask so many of our doctors is, how is it that America, which has we were told the best healthcare system in the world, how does it result in this? And one of the ways it results in this is because of failure of leadership, failure of technology, failure of communication, failure of preparation. And this is the price we're all paying. So we're not getting political on the show to say that there's no other explanation really for what happened except by looking at this and saying those are the things that happened, and we're all paying the price. Go ahead.
I'll just say that I think that there was a comment this morning on your show, that the Times shouldn't have done it. They hope that this is not perceived as a political message, that the New York Times today had a front page of 1,000 obituaries.
Yeah, yesterday, yeah.
Oh, yesterday, I'm sorry, yesterday time. And some people were saying they hope that politicians don't use that to be political. But I think my thought is that the personal does become political, because I imagine if one of my older relatives was taken ill and died, it would, you look for, you have to say why. So.
Yeah, you do. Vandana, what did you think of this coverage? What did you think of this? I don't know if you've put your hands on a physical paper in a while. You're of the generation that's all digital, so.
Yeah, not newspaper, books. Yeah, no. Just the extent of suffering is it's heartbreaking. And when I think you're so used to seeing numbers as numbers, and then when you look at it like this, when you think about it's really overwhelming. And to think about that, this is just one city, just one story in a global.
I think it's not one city. I think it's just around the nation, different.
Right, but 1,000 people out of out of almost 100,000 people, just 1,000 people, and
which is more, I think, than we had. I think I saw something that more people dead from this than from the Vietnam War and the Persian Gulf War.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember, we were one of the milestone dates was or numbers was 58,000, because that's the number of people that died in Vietnam. But that was over 12 years, and This was over 12 weeks that we had 58,000 people die. And
I'm thinking of India and Bangladesh and Bhutan, because they're in the middle. That they were hit by a cyclone this week, and it's just terrible timing. The cyclone has caused heat waves in the rest of India, and so people are suffering there. I mean, the temperature, New Delhi, I think, was 46 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure how much that is in Fahrenheit. I can't do that.
It's hot.
It's hot. It's really hot. And just thinking about everyone trying to get back home, figure things out in that heat is just heartbreaking.
Yeah, it really is. Daryl says, here in the US, we love being number one, but being number one in COVID-19 should never have happened. Absolutely. Daryl is a great friend of the show. He watches regularly from Richmond Hills in Queens, and we're very, very grateful to him for his support, for sharing. I hope you're all sharing this with your family and friends right now and tagging them so they can watch and understand what we're doing. And by the way, we have all of our archives, all 75 shows can be found very easily on youtube.com/Sreenet. Please subscribe so that you can see it, and we'd love to have you look through the archives. There's so much good content there. And the reason it is not because of me, because these ladies are amazing producers. They book these guests, and I'm going to ask each of them in a couple of minutes to just share some of their favorite people that they met doing this. In a couple of cases, they may have known them before, but exposing those friends or those contacts to the world like this has been amazing. Just yesterday, we did a great show with a woman named Patrice Tanaka, and she is the Chief Joy Officer of joyfulplanet.com. First of all, what a great title. And she talked about how being joyful is not about just being happy. She became the person she is because she lived with her husband for 16 years. He had a brain tumor. And then after 9/11, she felt so lost. But she met someone who gave her inspiration and said, what is your life's purpose? And then her life's purpose became helping people find their joy. And one of the things she did, I'll just show you her, the card we made for her yesterday. This is that positivity show we do every single Sunday night in New York. And this is her, Patrice Tanaka. She, her Twitter handle, by the way, Samba Gal, because she's a great dancer, ballroom dancer. And one of the things she did is she has created a 11-point questionnaire that she's giving away for free that you can write to her at patrice@joyfulplanet.com, patrice@joyfulplanet.com, and she will send you that questionnaire, and that will help you think about what brings joy in your life, what brings purpose in your life. And that's just episode number 74 that we're talking about. We could talk about every single episode that we have done. There's a story, there are amazing characters, amazing people that we want to know. So I'm going to come to our producers and ask them for some suggestions of things we should look for. Meanwhile, let's just go back and look at some of these comments because so many comments have been coming through. Let's just keep going. I'm going to just scroll up and up and up. Ashok Sharma is here watching from Kerala. He feels like he's been here for at least 70 of these episodes. Chetan says, good morning. Paula Kiger is here. Hi, Paula from Tallahassee. Paula is a dear friend of the show because she's also part of our amazing team, and they run what's called the New York Times Read Along. And every Sunday morning, we read the New York Times, and we read it with interesting and fabulous guests. 2 weeks ago, we read it with these folks, Rick Wilson and Steve Shale, who are dynamic political experts. We had 80,000 people watch this because of something called the Rick Wilson effect. He's on Twitter at the Rick Wilson. And Kanika Manga, who is one of our doctor friends, joined us to talk about medical issues around the show. And it was great to have her there. And by the way, she became the very first person to be a guest on all three of our shows on the same week. She's a guest on the New York Times Read Along, was a guest on our daily show here. And then I have a spin-off show on WBAI, which is a progressive radio station in New York, a call-in show just on the radio. And she was on that. And by the way, that call-in show wouldn't exist without everybody here watching, supporting, asking questions, and helping us by being a part of our community. And Vandana has given out the link for how you can join us on the air. If you'd like to join us, we'd love to have you. Ashok says, learning is a lifelong process from cradle to graveyard. And that's very, very, very true. And look at this, a lovely note from Sky, 1905. Sree, you and our team are producing wonderful service. That is just great. Good morning, says RP. Patricia Freudenberg says, congrats on show number 75. Thank you very much. It's all of us. Welcome to Rose and Vandana, ma'am. This is something that we say in India, the word ma'am or madam. This is something that I'm sure Vandana is not used to getting the madam treatment, but it is something, it's like sir, right? Would you say, Vandana?
Yeah, just as a term of respect. Please don't call me ma'am.
And look at this. Guy says women need to support each other. And that's another excuse for me to talk about #women to follow. And what about that idea that women should stick up for each other and should follow each other, should help each other, Rose?
Absolutely. We were fortunate. We had actually Kelly Hoey as a guest, who is the author of Build Your Dream Network. And she's very supportive of fellow, she's having, since I think she was on our StreamYard, which this platform we use, she's going live all the time, and she's always trying to share advice to build and support women. And Rupa, who's such a leader, was on our show and talking about what she's doing in her work and how she supports women. And she's always, when the Times runs a story about the New Zealand's letter, I can always count that. I know that Rupert's going to be there. And, I have more women to follow that I plan to do some profiles. I've been busy with a show. I haven't done a new one, but the last one I did came out with a book right the week the pandemic happened. Michelle Goodwin, who's an attorney at University of Irvine, and she is a real. I've seen her on podcasts. She's just a really articulate woman talking about the inequities and of how many women, especially brown and black women, are jailed, and the threat to abortion rights, those things.
So we should get her on our show when we can. That'll be great to do that. Vandana, how have you managed to do this? You're so helpful. You're working so hard, and then doing all your job stuff as well. How are you balancing all that?
That's a good question. I'm not entirely sure I'm balancing it very well, to be honest. But the show has created like a sense of consistency, which is really nice. I know that there's like a set hour and a half when we're live tweeting, and it's also been incredible to meet so many cool people. I mean, so many people have reached out to us saying that, hey, we know someone who's doing a lot of important work, and we should feature them. They should come on your show. And just knowing that there are so many people who've gone out and use their time and effort to actually be able to give back is just it's really humbling, and it's nice to like see that that's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we will reveal a little later. I did some math and looked up how many people have roughly seen the show, how many guests we've had. So we're going to share all of that in a little bit. Let's go through some more comments as they keep coming in, and then we're going to bring some people on the air. So if you'd like to be on the air with us, just go into our Facebook post and just scroll down into the main section of the post itself, and you'll see a link called StreamYard. Click on that, and you'll be able to join us on the air, which will be really cool, and we'd love to have you. And if you want to do that on YouTube also, you can go and find it. We'll put you on the air, and so you can talk to us directly. So let me look at some of the other comments. Pradnya says, Rose, you're a leader I'm proud to follow. See what I did there? Very nice. And Olinda says it's 6:50 a.m. in Mumbai. Very, very early. Thank you. And Pradnya says, I freaking love Juggernaut. Oh my God. Vandana, I'm going to put you solo here so you can take a screenshot of this and send it to our friend Snigdha, because that is an incredible compliment that you've just gotten for the website you work with. And Olinda says, seeing these two ladies for the first time, Rose and Vandana, very pleased to see them. And I think we need to do more to highlight the work of our producers. Everybody should do that. By the way, an interesting thing on Indian television, on news, Indian television does a lot of terrible things on the news. They have so many people screaming at each other, and everything is breaking news. But one of the things they do is whenever they have a correspondent in the field, they'll say, at the end of the thing, they'll say, with cameraman or camerawoman, so-and-so, I'm so-and-so. And you never see that on American television.
Oh.
American television, you get the idea that these on-air correspondents are some kind of magical powers, that they have a drone following them, and somehow they're just on the air magically. But that's something that I've always noticed. Vandana, I don't know if you've seen that.
I didn't know that. I know that people say it in Indian news channels back home. You always sign off. In fact, we are always instructed on how to sign off. But I didn't know that it didn't happen here in the US.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen. And I would
unless it's a war story, maybe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is every day, every show. So people just know it's a two-woman team, whatever, always doing this. And it's just a nice gesture. And we try to do all we can to highlight these wonderful women producers who are helping us. We're just doing such a great job, and we're very, very grateful. And Olinda says, so nice seeing these ladies for the first time. I love that. And
you read Stefan's.
Yes, definitely is.
We're going to, I was just going to say that something gratifying. Sometimes the guests write back, and thank us for being on the show. Sapphire wrote and said, "Thank you. It turned out to be such an eventful and important show." And then she wrote back again and said, "You're doing such important work, such wonderful work."
Oh, so, well, what a thing for her to say, and such an important person.
She reached out and was so sweet, and she said thank you and it was just it's nice to know that.
Yeah,
this is the person that you're talking about, Rose, who was on our show. Her name is Sapphire. She's a writer and a poet, and whose book Push was made into the Oscar-winning Precious. She's also the author of The Kid and American Dream. And you pulled out this wonderfully important and sad quote, right? So, I have brought into the public gaze women who have been marginalized by sexual abuse, poverty, and their blackness. Through art, I've sought to center them in the world. What a legacy she leaves. And we were so blessed that she was able to come on. And, I thought it was really a conversation mostly about certain types of issues, but man, she was so fired up, and that righteous anger.
And she was on her phone. She was on her phone. And somehow she is a show person, because her lighting was great, even though she was on her phone. She just, we just like, okay, well, we don't really need to ask that many questions, because whatever she says is just so poetic and eloquent and powerful. And I know that she wouldn't, her telling me that we're doing wonderful work is a big compliment, because I know that she wrote that book Push was partly as a way to show people what she said in that quote, the marginalization, because she was not, I think, a product of being in a terrible, abusive situation, but she wanted to, after working with so many, teaching so many in Harlem and the Bronx, she wanted to show America that this is the reality that we live in.
And by the way, two things that she said that I will never forget. She said, we are on TV all the time hearing, you must wash your hands, wash your hands. She said, so many Native American folks have no water to wash their hands. And so no running water in their homes. And you're talking about washing your hands. What is that about? And then she told us the story of how she was on her hands and knees cleaning the home of a white woman when she was in college. And she was doing that in order to pay for college. And at one point she said to the woman that, you really should pay me more. Look how hard I'm working for you. And that woman said that, you don't have to work for me. I will hire an immigrant, a Spanish woman is what she said, a Spanish woman to do it instead of you. And in that comment, Sapphire said, was not just inherent racism and everything else, but she was going to pit this African-American woman against another minority who had no rights, no power, so she could pay her less. And that is the country and society we have even today. And I think the problems have been even exaggerated even more since then. We've seen things like we have this terrible racial divide. States that have 15% African-American population have 40, 60, 70% population that's of African-Americans who are among the victims, right? Like, so those are just unacceptable stats, but she's just one of the many people who have brought that to light in these 75 days. This has been, I've got to tell you, an education for me on so many topics, and it's been very inspirational. So let's do some more comments, and then let's bring in our guests, our viewers who have joined us. Several of them are standing backstage and ready to come on. Kanika says, amazing producers, which is great. And Dave says, good morning. And Nikhil says, hi, congrats on 75 shows. And Roberta says, congrats from Richmond, Virginia. And so great to meet your colleagues. You're doing a great job. And Roberta is a television superstar. She worked with Ed Bradley, who the Americans on the show will know who that is. Ed Bradley was one of the greatest television forces, and she was a producer of his, another great work that she did. And so for her to recognize good production is a real compliment. Jeevan says, good morning from India. And people are tagging their friends. It's just great. Congrats team. You folks are terrific. Thank you for making isolation so much more interesting. Like, these are comments that we could never have imagined. Happy anniversary. Hello from Philadelphia, says Steve Taylor. Steve does 4 shows a week, so we've got him beat on that, but he does it all just amazing for higher stakes, because he's doing it for the Philadelphia Parks Alliance, and we will come to him. We know he's waiting backstage to say hi. Jonathan says, with the slow opening, there probably won't be a problem booking guests or reaching people 100. I cannot tell you how much I don't want to reach episode 100. I wish we didn't have to do any of this, but you're right. 100 is only 25 days away. I'd be shocked if we were back to normal magically. Remember, the president promised us a V-shaped recovery, right? We go down and we bounce back up like that. That is not the case. And we want to do a 100th episode that really has impact. Unfortunately, we were all so busy, weren't we, the 3 of us, that we didn't have a chance to focus on this. So we want all of your ideas to help us do a really important, meaningful 100th episode in 25 days. Let's say Jonathan says these episodes anchor the day. Oh my God, that is so lovely. Joy is watching from Singapore. We're so grateful to him. Anand's tagging people. Sindhu is saying hi. Ahmed is saying hi. It is just so great to have all of this. Ashok says, with more expatriates coming from other states and countries, positive cases are on the increase in Kerala. The situation may get out of control. Sonali is here, one of our wonderful sponsors and advertisers. We're so grateful. We never planned to do that as a business, but we're getting a chance to. This is one of the things I've learned. You have great content and a great audience. People want to be in front of that and to support it. And we would love to keep getting support that way. So if you have an ad you'd like to run, maybe not even for yourself. We had people, do you guys remember how Nidhi Sinha bought ads for other charities to advertise? She was so generous. One other person bought thousands of dollars worth of ads and ad time and all of that on all our shows without giving her name, which was just incredible that people do things like that. Haywired says thank you. And Kruti is watching from Buffalo. We love having this global audience. And my dad is here. Happy 75th, he says, and congrats. Thank you. My dad turned 75 years old last year. He had me when he was a baby. And I'm just so grateful that he's able to be here every day. I now have an excuse for him to connect with me and with my mom. Haywired says, this is Bloomberg TV live, right? Yes, it is. And Chetan sends his love. Happy 75th anniversary. Great going. And Deborah says, a rose is a talented backstage rose. Great producing. Wow. Okay, we got to put this here so you can get a screenshot of this, which is really, I'll embarrass you a little bit, which is great. And just so many comments. I just cannot believe this. It's great. And my dad says, you are right, Ashok. I have just written a column about the horrors of homecoming. I still hope things will not go out of control. The state of Kerala, where my parents live, had 4 deaths. We know more people from that state, Keralites as they're called, who died in America than died there. Maybe even in New York State than died there. And now we may see things go out of control. Ganesh says, Daryl says, seeing those numbers based on geography makes me ponder. The geography has really been missing during lockdown and really doesn't exist online. It says, let's see, there's so many comments coming in. Lori's watching from Dobbs Ferry. She's been a faithful viewer. I ordered up the questionnaire. I'll be looking at it over in the days ahead. That's the questionnaire from Chief Joy Officer Patrice Tanaka. Patrice at joyfulplanet.com. Get a free copy of her questionnaire on giving you purpose and joy in your life. You should all sign up for it. Monica's watching. Good evening, she says. Mohammed's watching, says good morning. Daryl said, I think folks tuning in for the first time may think Sree is 75 today. Yes, look at this hair. I could be 75 for sure. And Stefan says, I so appreciate all the incredible doctors we featured in these calls. And I'll later show you some numbers about how many of these folks we've had. Dory's watching, great supporter and friend. She says hi from LinkedIn. Akruti says, absolutely love the series and try to join as many of the chats as possible. Every time I walk away learning something new and relevant, thank you for creating these and bringing us facts. Thank you so much. And I'll say to everyone that we need Akruti to come on our show. She's an example of someone creative who has been doing incredible work, especially connecting her culture, her Indian culture, with an American audience, has been doing great work. And Manisha is watching from Delhi. Thank you for all the great shows. Showing up every day and doing a great job is so important in such times. Thank you. That's right. We didn't miss a single day. There have been times when we weren't sure we're going to have a show. Should we have a show? But we had a show every single day. Susanna is watching and she says, I feel the same. Sarah says, you're right about Indian television. That's Indian television is a mess. And that's really part of the problem. Akruti says, Umesh Babaria, you will love this show, the series. Again, all of it is on YouTube, youtube.com/Sreenet. Please go there. Renee is here. Renee is an amazing friend of ours. Big congratulations on your 75th show. Renee, if you want to come backstage, you know how. Go onto our Facebook or YouTube. Find the link there and join us. Or Rose can email it to you. Jennifer Lazarus on our team says, amazing, 75. I look forward, Renee says, to your daily show and hope it'll continue post-COVID-19. Hello from New York City, 30 blocks from where Sree is hosting the show. All right, we've got to bring in some guests. They've been very patient, and we have some guy who's wearing a hat. That's my way of signaling to them that if you're not wearing a hat, you're not the one coming up next on the show. So he's got his hat. He's looking fly, as they say. Here we go. And please welcome Stefan Kaplan.
Hey.
Hey, everybody.
Good to see you.
And look where I am, Sree. I'm in another room too now.
Have you been kicked out?
I can't. I talk so loud. I normally have a loud voice. So now I'm in my sunroom. And if all my neighbors can hear me from my sunroom, that's their problem, not mine.
And so tell us, how have these 75 days been for you? What have you been working on? What are the things that you've done?
I'm thinking about you doing 75 of these, and it absolutely blows my mind because I just started, as you know, tackling my own Spin It social hour once a week. This week, it's twice a week. Oh, thanks. That's really kind of you. So Paula Bronstein tomorrow is my guest. She's an award-winning photojournalist on the Spin It social hour, which is my passion project. Started inspired by you and everything you're doing because I wanted to help in some way. And Paula is a world-class photojournalist that's right up there with all of the greats, Lindsay Addario, Amy Vitale. I could go down the list. And she's traveled everywhere from Afghanistan. She's based in Bangkok, but she's here right now, sadly, because she lost her dad. And she was here. And while she was here, through the magic of social media, I know another photojournalist named Renee Byer. Renee Byer is a really world-class photojournalist herself. She said, hey, I'm busy right now, but let me talk to Paula. So she put me in touch with Paula. I've known Paula about her work all my whole life, being a photo editor at the Times for all those years. And I said, wow, Paula Bronstein on my show. So I got in touch with her. We talked, and voila, tomorrow she's on the show.
And tell us how people can find it and what they'll learn.
Yeah, well, I'm streaming now. So basically, the Spin It Social Hour was born. It's a labor of love born out of care and concern because I wanted to find a way to give back to the photo community. And just recently, the Times published a huge article on the fact about photojournalists and photographers losing their shirts right now. And the ones who aren't losing their shirts are basically out there on the front lines doing the work, which is very dangerous. And if they're on assignment and other things. So the bottom line is that I wanted to give back. Which way could I give back? By creating a show which I featured their work, tell people about them, so that hopefully when this crisis subsides, they'll know more about them, be able to give them work, projects, and that's it. So that's how it was born. But it was born because of all the work you've put into all this, and it lit a fire under my butt. And it said, hey, you've got to do something. I don't have a lot of money to give away right now, but you and I know that the number one way you can always give back is by doing social good.
And you've done that. You should be very, 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 very proud.
And, you know, I was thinking about 75 of these. So my point earlier, before you threw my card up, and thank you for doing that, because the show with Paul is tomorrow morning at 12, tomorrow afternoon at 12 noon. By the way, Thursday, guess who I'm featuring? Thursday, I haven't put out the promo card yet, but right after Paula, I'm closing the show. Ronaldo is going to be on the show. Ronaldo Robinson, who photographed you recently because I hooked you up with him.
Yep.
So this is the beauty of social media. It just keeps connecting all of us. And that's what we've all continued to learn from each other, is that's this giant, incredible world. And we know how to do it right. And that's why we love teaching and working with people. And social doesn't have to be bad. Like David Beard always said, right, Sree? David Beard, one of the finest journalists out there, has always said, if you have a bad social, if you feel bad about social, then you need to change your social feeds.
Yeah, who you're listening to matters for sure.
Yeah,
all right.
Getting,
yeah. So Stephanie's on our team, and we do incredible work together as part of that Digimentors team that we mentioned, where we're looking for projects. Your in-person events, we can make them virtual, and we can work with you. We can support you in anything you're doing digitally. Take a screenshot of this or take a photo. We'd love to talk to you. And Stefan is just one person of one of the fabulous people we have on our team. So,
well, I got to tell you, Rose and Vandana, you've been doing an amazing job. I can't keep up with you guys half the time. Even I have to take a break once in a while. Rose knows I'm always retweeting. Jonathan is the first one that's always on the show. I'm always trying to be the first one that's retweeting and sharing.
And you're always sharing.
On every platform. I don't stay on one platform. I share everything that Sree does on every platform, because you know what? There's nothing more worthy than what's being done every single day, every single night. And I will always say it to the day that I'm off the air or off social, is that you are the one that, no matter what, inspires all of us.
Oh, thank you. You're very, very kind. And
one last thing I'm going to say. I found this photo right here of us at Taralucci. Okay? Remember we were there for the for one of the calls that we had? I mean, one of the Sree Wikipedia things with Andrew?
Right. I'm showing a close-up of it. Go ahead. You can see a close-up. Right. And this is a Wikipedia secrets session that we did.
Right. And this is me, Sree, and Andrew Lee, Fuzzheado on Twitter. The reason I showed that was I was just looking at a thing where they, I think, served, what was it? Their 10,000 or some crazy number of meals to
100,000 meals.
100,000 meals. Can you imagine that? So a year ago, we were there. Who would have thought that all this would have taken place? But my point is that here's Taralucci with the owner.
Italian restaurant in New York, and we had the family on the air. They're doing incredible work trying to bring attention. They're feeding the frontline workers, called Feeding the Frontlines NYC.
And the reason I bring them up is I saw that photo, and it struck me so much, because we're there celebrating and doing a great Wikipedia thing, and we had a great walk afterwards, you and I, and we went to Soho. What'd we eat? Like 6 cupcakes that day with at Bombay Shirts.
Yeah.
Anyway, but now look at the amazing things they're doing, and who would have thought all this would have happened with that restaurant, with COVID, with feeding the first responders? I mean, it's been a crazy year. And a crazy few months from this whole thing. And I just hope that by the fall, I hope we can get through the summer. I'm worried about the fall too, like you always say. I really am. I'm worried about school. I'm worried about a lot of things with the kids. I'm worried about everything. And you know what? But in the meantime, we have to just keep pushing forward, doing good. And for Christ's sake, people, sorry for saying Christ's name there, but for heaven's sake, wear your damn masks.
Yes.
Wear your mask. If you're not wearing your masks, you're part of the problem and you're causing harm to others. There are people out there with major illnesses, with asthma, with cancer, with other things. It takes one droplet to infect you and you won't know. And then next thing you know, you're with someone else and then it starts all over again. And we're going to keep going like this until you get the idea that we have to have our masks on. Sorry, I had to go on that rant.
Thank you. We appreciate the rant. We hope you scared somebody straight into this. And thank you very much. And we'll see you again, Stefan. Good luck with the show tomorrow. Remind everyone the time.
12 o'clock tomorrow on Facebook and Twitter. Stefan Spinit Social on Facebook. All one word, Stefan Spinit Social. And Spinit Social on Twitter. I'm live streaming there too. It's going to be a full hour with Paula. And she's an amazing photojournalist. You have to tune in to see her.
I saw one of the photos you put up. Amazing. And I don't know her work, but
she's won every award imaginable, except for the Pulitzer, and that she was a finalist for.
That's great.
So,
and we worked on the Pulitzers together, so that's a great connection there. Thank you very much, Stefan.
Yeah,
we'll see you soon. No, we were saying how you and I worked on the Pulitzer.
We worked on the Pulitzer. We worked on the aquarium of the Bay right here.
Right, nice.
That's right. Another wonderful place. Support the nonprofits, support the museums, everybody that's going through this, that's losing so much, so we can keep them going through this. Anyway, Sree, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Rose, Vandana, bye-bye. Kisses to you guys, because I'm sick of all this virtual stuff. I want to see people.
Bye. All right. What a bundle of energy he is. And Jonathan called him he said Stefan is the James Lipton of interviewing photojournalists, because he's really good at kind of talking to them, and he's done a great job with that. And Debbie says, I love the Om Shalom production staff. Mazel Tov on 75. So in America, when we have something that's usually with couples, right? When they're half Jewish couple, half Hindu couple, we say Om Shalom, or a Hindu wedding, things like that. So that's what she's referring to. And let's bring in another one of our guests. We're going to bring in Steve Taylor, who's been an amazing friend of the show and friend of ours, and part of our incredible team of producers on all our shows. He and I do multiple things a week together, and let's bring him on. Hello.
Hi. As you can see, my lighting is on brand, purple for Star Sree.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Folks, this is Steve Taylor. He's at Steve Derive on Twitter, DERIVE. He is a great social media expert, as well as a producer extraordinaire. And we've done so many shows together already, from our consulting, virtual events, and things like that. How have these 75 days affected you?
Well, they've actually been really interesting. And for me personally, they've been amazing professionally. I've had wonderful opportunity to work with the folks at the Philadelphia Parks Alliance. We're actually up to 5 shows a week now, because we added a Monday meditation to our 4 children's book reading shows. And I'm also now producing a game show every Wednesday for another client. But one of the most exciting work I'm doing is with the Digimentors team, the Sree Digimentors team, having a chance to work on things like a weekly Hong Kong University broadcast, Princeton University's Grad Futures Forum, and currently working on the Global Teachers Conference. And it is quite amazing to have these opportunities. It's I'm still pinching myself. And so that's what's happening with me. And I'm actually pretty excited for tomorrow at the Parks Alliance Read Along, because I've always been the co-host, the producer and the co-host, along with my awesome co-host Loeb, who was our campaign director there at the Parks Alliance. I'm going to be a guest for the first time reading a book. And that's another reason that the lights are purple. I'm going to be reading Bruce Dagan's Jamberry. So tomorrow at 2 p.m., I will be on the Parks Alliance's live streams on YouTube and Facebook. You can search for Philadelphia Parks Alliance on YouTube, or you can also go to PH Parks Alliance on Twitter, and then just check out the pinned post there, and that'll lead you straight there. It's going to be a nice break, whether or not you have kids. It's a really fun time, and a fun book we'll be able to flip through. And I don't want to give away the ending, so let's not flip too far. There we go. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so that's what I'll be up to tomorrow, along with quite a few other things. So yeah, that's what's going on with me. And
folks, I always smile when I'm with Steve. He's got so much energy and a great colleague and friend. And I just want to point out to everybody who's watching that nothing makes me prouder than working with folks who first join my classes or something like that, and then they get the skills and we're able to be colleagues, and that makes me so proud. And these are examples of folks who have come to me, and they've led led me into new adventures.
I never told you the story when I first heard about you, and then that was you were in Philadelphia for you were doing a nonprofit, or I think it was an arts focused social media workshop, and my friend Caitlin Martin, who is the communications manager for Philadelphia's Association of Public Art, posted this live stream, and I was interested, and I started hearing all these interesting social media tips and approaches that I was like, I need to know this. I absolutely need to know this. But I also had to leave to get to a meeting uptown pretty soon, and I had to get a shower first. So I grabbed my Bluetooth speaker and took it into the shower so I could continue to listen to this. Back in 2015, maybe, I'm not sure what year that was.
2015, yeah. Wow.
And then the following, and going to the following social media weekend in person, and coming up there with another friend of mine from Philadelphia, and went to the next in-person one, and then had the honor of helping to produce the online social media weekend on March 22nd this year. So it's been a pretty cool ride, and I'm very honored and excited to be part of this.
Folks, thank you. Our guest has been Steve Derive on Twitter, at Steve Derive. For people who don't know what that is, tell us. His name actually Steve Taylor, but Steve Derive is what?
Okay, well, the Derive is a drift in French, and it comes from the Situationist movement, which is often known for the iconography and the slogans that came out of the student movement and the workers' movement in France in 1968. But it was a movement that emerged from the lettrist movement, which emerged from the surrealist movement. But really, what a Derive is, it's a walk around an urban space, around an urban area, around a city, with a group, and then going back in just sort of a randomly paced walk, and then afterwards sitting down at a cafe and sharing the observations of how people how you interacted with the urban environment, but also how others were interacting. And I tell you, now is one of the more amazing and scary, but also fascinating times to see how people are interacting in the urban environment there. And I certainly really, it does seem like a dream, not so much a good one, being out there, but it's also something that we do have to observe and we do have to talk about.
Absolutely. And so you're in Philadelphia, and so is Vandana, but you guys haven't met yet in person. And so maybe you'll do a Derive whenever you're able to, because I think it'd be really cool for you folks to connect.
Excellent.
All right. So let's say bye to Steve. We'll see you soon. We have many meetings ahead of us this week. Thank you very much, Steve. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I think we have time for one more guest, and we didn't even get to talk about all our favorite guests, so we may have to save some of that for 100, but I will let you give us some final thoughts and mention some folks. But before we go to our final guest, who has been very patient and standing by, he was our third ever guest and then has joined us multiple times since. I just wanted to say that we have a fantastic series of shows coming up this week. And I'm just looking at our Google Doc that we have where all of this is listed. We're going to meet the director of the show Spelling the Dream, which launched on Netflix yesterday. And he'll be here tomorrow at 9 p.m. We're going to have an entire show on good news instead of all bad news. And David Beard and Janie Adams of National Geographic are going to be here, which is going to be a fantastic show. And then Thursday at 9 a.m., so we're going to try mixing up the time, we're going to have a global conversation about fighting COVID-19 misinformation, and we have lots of great experts for that. And then Friday night, we're going to have a show on running for office under COVID-19 and all the difficulties and problems that has. So there's so many events coming up, so many great speakers. We're so grateful. If you have suggested a speaker and we haven't yet booked that person, please bear with us because we have a lot of catching up to do in our own team to figure out who's booking whom. And we are just trying to keep up with everything, but we are looking for speakers, topics, ideas, themes, and sponsors. So if you would like to help us with any of those things, just email me, sree@sree.net, SREE@SREE.net. All right, now to bring in a person with a brand new studio in his home after having joined us mostly from his kitchen. Now I'm going to bring in Bob Anthony. Hi, Bob.
Evening, folks.
How are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. As you can see, I'm busy trying to remove the clutter behind me by working on green screens and the like. So I went up on eBay weeks ago, got myself a green screen, and this is one of the things I've had plenty of time to work on is designing a virtual background, which you're getting the debut. I haven't used it on any other webinar or web conference or anything. So welcome to my virtual background.
I love it. I'm so jealous. You know, I'm jealous. Look at that. You've got your name. You've got your Twitter handle. You're not leaving it to chance, right? These producers and people like me, when we have you on the show, we can mess things up and get the spelling wrong here. You've taken charge of your own branding, and I love that, Bob, that you've done that. Vandana and you have been our kind of guests / producers of the show that we do called News You Missed. And that was one of the things that you have contributed to my life, Bob, over these many years that I've known you. I've been so grateful for the work you've done and the leadership you have done here in New York among the Journalists Association and Journalist Fraternity. How have these 75 days affected you, Bob?
It's given me a lot of time to think and basically not reinvent myself, but enhance the things that I haven't had time to work on in a while. Things like video. I'm learning by going to webinars and whatnot how to deal with the microphone. I have a decent microphone connected to the Surface at the moment. I picked out a different camera to use with these web conferences because this one is narrower and you don't see the junk to the side. And I'm just picking up skills as I can. But yeah, when I go outside, it's so easy to get depressed with the empty streets and the empty.
You brought us one of our favorite guests, Kurt Boone, who you brought us, who's a photographer, journalist, a bike messenger, all in one. I remember when I was saying that, people were thinking I'm bringing like 17 guests, but it was actually just Kurt, who is an amazing man who is documenting empty streets of New York, and it's so much to share with us.
And you've helped, I have to say, Sree, the appearance on your show helped him a lot, sort of jumpstart what he was going to do anyway. He's been all over Instagram. He's been doing some interviews here and there. So I haven't spoken to him in a few days, but I'm sure he's very thankful for the appearance here because he gained people who had no idea what he was doing.
Yeah. I love them. I follow him on Instagram now, and I saw him just the other day. I think he's Messenger 541, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, he is.
841. Messenger 841 on Instagram.
841, yeah. So I saw him on my feed the other day, and I was like, yes, good for him.
And we'll just
he's a very good guy, excellent journalist, and he's excellent at what he does. Sorry, Sree, didn't mean to talk.
No, I was just going to say that one of the things that you said a couple of things that you said just on our shows that have been so important. One is you said that you will be not sure if you'll go to Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, which will be in January most likely. And to me, Bob Anthony not going to the Consumer Electronics Show is like Robert Redford not going to Sundance, because that's like the natural place for you as a tech journalist, as a very successful veteran, important tech journalist. You not being there diminishes not you, but diminishes the event. But that tells you you're concerned about your health and safety. And as you watch all these people trying to break down the walls and go out and demand to be liberated in some way, it's just very, very upsetting to see. And the other thing you told us and you shared with us so generously was the story of your father who worked for the MTA, and how sad it has been that so many people have died who worked for the MTA.
As far as going to events, you should see my schedule for the week. Tomorrow I have a webinar with Corel, who I'm going to learn how to edit photos. I'm going to sit in on a book expo online. The book expo isn't happening at Javits, but they're online. The Columbia Daily Spectator, I used to be the sports editor way back when, is having an online event for Spectator alumni. So that's how I'm keeping busy, even though I can't go to the events. And as for the brave folks of the transit, my heart goes out to each and every one of them every time I see a bus go by. And it's so eerie. And you know me, I'm out late. It's so eerie to walk down a street and not hear the subway rumbling between 1 and 5 a.m. That just shows you where we are.
Yeah, Vandana was telling us, when that story broke, she told us that it hadn't happened ever. I mean, maybe a few outages here and there after Superstorm Sandy, but nothing like it's been shut in 100 and something years, right, Vandana?
Yeah.
Never a scheduled shutdown like this. Correct. From the day it opened, it was meant to be a 24-hour operation, even when it was only one line. It's incredible.
Wow. And a salute to all the transit workers and in your father's legacy as well. So thank you, Bob. Everyone, please follow him. He's he's on Twitter and everywhere.
I'm just going to say thank you for the 75 days. Thank you for the 75 days. I've gotten a lot out of it. It's good to see the circle of smart people you have around you at any given time. Vandana, Rose, and Stefan, and Steve, and everything you've done to keep this going. So congratulations on day 75.
Thank you, and we'll see you at day 100. But before that, we got to do a news you missed soon because I'm missing so much news. I rely on the two of you to give me my news, so we got to schedule one pretty soon. We're running out of time here, folks. Thanks, Bob. We'll see you again. He's at New York Bob, all spelled out on all the platforms, and on Pinterest, he has 1.2 million followers on Pinterest. So follow him there as well. Thanks, Bob. Bye. All right, we're really out of time here, but I want to say hi to my mother who is watching. Hi, Amma, 75 straight days you're doing this, son. Wow, Amma is very proud of you. Thank you. And these ladies make it possible, Amma. Thank you so much. Julia Week says, happy 75. Sonali says, great job sharing content. Joe Appio says, my wife's company in Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz USA, is paying their cafeteria contractor to feed the hungry. How lovely is that? And Joe, I have to tell you my Mercedes-Benz USA story. I don't own a Mercedes, but I'll tell you that story someday. And Mark says, the amazing Sree and his crew, just so great to have all of you here. E.B. Moss says, and so appreciate Sree finding time to guest on my podcast. Tomorrow I'm going to be there. Get ready for episode 9 of Insider Interviews with E.B. Moss. What's your burning question for him? I guess for me. You can ask that. And wow, I got to open for Bob Anthony. I'm honored, says Steve. And Steve says, Kurt is awesome. I loved that show. And Daryl says the emergency shutdown of the subway during Hurricane Sandy was the first ever shutdown of the subway. He's not shouting, he says, as he puts it all in all caps. Mark Lee wants to say hello. So Mark, we're just going to go to you very quickly. Can you adjust your headroom on your camera there a little bit? There you go. I can see him off stage. So he just wants to say hi. Mark, you've been with us for 75 days. I'm very grateful. Hello.
How are you doing? Just wanted to say hello to you.
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm just a very big fan of yours, and actually was talking about you earlier today because I was doing a new show on IBM.TV and had Tim Sohn on, who's taking that class that is one of your sponsors, and I'm taking that class. So definitely we gave you a big shout out and really enjoyed it. And we were talking about the fact that you've helped our podcast, me and Dean's podcast, with the amazing guests that you've helped us get, including talking to Roberta about being on the show in the very near future. But folks like Sonny Slaughter, Limpy, I would not have known about them was it not for knowing about you, Sree. So yeah, you've helped me grow my audience, and I've also told a lot of people about what you're doing. I'm just a big time admirer of you and your entire crew. I mean, even though I've never met Rose, never met Ms. Minden, I'm just a fan of the whole group and just love all that y'all are doing. So I just wanted to let folks know that I just think that y'all are tremendous. And I saw somebody earlier on here saying that they really hope that you'll do this post-COVID. And I want to second that endorsement, that I hope that even though, we don't know how many more days this is going to last, but whenever it's done, we want you to continue doing this on a daily basis. I think that you've really carved a niche. I still say that you owe me an appearance on the podcast, along with some of your other crew that we haven't got around to give you yet, but we're going to have that happen soon.
Well, thank you, Mark, and thank you for your energy. You may cause these two ladies to faint if you tell them they have to do this after COVID-19, because they're looking forward to being liberated out of this. But we're so grateful to you, Mark. There's no show without an audience, and you are just wonderful. And my wife, Rupa, who is, by the way, a big listener of podcasts, she's always saying everybody's making podcasts. She says, I'm not going to make a podcast, meaning her, because someone has to listen to these podcasts. And that's right. And give everyone your podcast name so people can find you.
Sure. It's Straight Talk with Dean and Mark. They can find it. The main platform is on Blog Talk Radio. That's blogtalkradio.com/squared 807. But we're on all the platforms: Spreaker, TuneIn, Google Play, all the major platforms. So definitely they can find it that way. But it's on Monday nights. And then, like I said, IBM TV, which is kind of a cross between podcasting and Facebook Live, and they're creating a podcast and TV network. They've reached out to me, so we're doing that on Monday afternoons. We didn't actually do our podcast today because, as a general rule, Dean likes to take off on the holidays. So this being Memorial Day, we took that off. But the IBM TV folks didn't have that same kind of rule, at least not right now. So we did air that, and that's the Mark Lee Show. I don't know why they had to stick my name on it, but they couldn't find anything else. So they call it the Mark Lee Show, radio on television.
Well, we love that. Mark Lee from Durham, North Carolina. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Bye-bye. All right, folks, we only have a few minutes left. It's already 10:20. Let's have each of you share a couple of yours. We want everyone to go into the YouTube archives and look for shows. So tell us the shows that you think they should look for, the ones that are really memorable to you. So we'll start with Rose, and then we'll go to Vandana, and then we'll wrap this up, because otherwise we'll end up on the 100th show just talking like this.
Well, I guess my number one right now at the moment would be the Sapphire Show. I think everybody would love to see, should see that. And Nikki Grimes was terrific. She is a poet who just spoke so eloquently and about that we have to give each other grace, during this time if she doesn't write every day, but she's doing a lot to bring her books and her literature to a lot of teachers, and she was great. The show on immigrants, I think Sree, I don't know where you pulled that together. We didn't know what was going to be that night, but it was a great show with Professor Elizabeth Cohn, and the other professor from the East Coast, but was on California. That was a great show, an important show, and proud of the show that we just did this Saturday, which was called Connecticut Under COVID, but really Connecticut as a microcosm of what's happening in this country in terms of inequality and disparities as we for minority communities and working class as we try to cope with the impact of COVID.
Thank you, Rose. Those are just some of the shows. There's so many. It's I've been doing television for 20 plus years and never had this experience of having so much content being produced every day so quickly. And it's been an amazing experience. And thank you so much for that. Let's go to Vandana for her favorites, the things that people can look at by going to youtube.com/SreeNet, and you can look at some of these shows. Go ahead, Vandana.
I mean, I was just thinking of all of the incredible people we've had. Like, we've had so many celebrities. We've had celebrity chef Vikas Khanna. We've had actors Purna Jagannathan, who was in Never Have I Ever. We had Bollywood actress Manisha Koirala. We had Sapphire, of course, Nikki Grimes. We've had incredible journalists Nick Kristof and Cheryl Woodan. We've had so many incredible people come on and tell us about their lives, and you should go to our YouTube playlist.
And that's been really kind of amazing to see all of that. And so we want everybody to see that. So I totaled up some numbers. And so we want to share that now before we go off the air in terms of who's been watching and where people are from and all of that. So we're going to share that right now. And just to say again to Vandana also for making this show possible through her energy. And I don't think she knew what she was quite getting into when she agreed to help us this way. And I have to say also that a lot of people offered to help, but very few people do have the commitment and follow through. A lot of people said, we'll help you, we'll do this and do that, but they actually did. And every day for 75 days.
Vandana, we've gotten to know each other. We didn't know each other at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you've now joined us, and you're on the, you joined us when we were just getting started, and now we built this into something, and we believe we can get any guest that we want, and that's why we are able to pick and choose the quality of the guest, the relevancy of the guest. All of it is because of the hard work. And by the way, because of the two of you, I've felt like I've had some support so that I can do this. Anybody can just say we're going to do it, but to have two producers and often to say to someone, we're going to talk to our producers and hand that off to you, and you folks have just run with it, and so incredibly proud of the work we have done. So let's look at some numbers and some updated stats here. Let me pull off these banners. So here you're seeing we've had 100 of the first 75 shows. I've had 155 guests, and we're really proud that 91 of them have been women. It could have been 155 women, but this was sort of the intentionality with which we did this. 38 cities, 10 countries are the guests, not the viewers. Viewers have been around the world because, especially as we have the Scroll.in partnership, they have millions of followers. So we've been able to see these incredible numbers. More than 1 million viewers. We've had 20 doctors and nurses, 20 authors, 10 CEOs, 15 teachers, Bollywood stars and Hollywood celebrities. All of those people are here, and it all comes back to storytelling, connections. And let me ask each of them kind of how you feel looking at these numbers. Vandana, what perspective do you have from looking at this?
I mean, I know we were just talking about it earlier in the show about how numbers just seem like numbers. And then we have to visualize that there are so many actual people who are watching, and it just blows my mind. Yeah.
Rose?
I guess I had no idea there were 1 million viewers. That's really incredible. And I'm very proud that we have had so many women, and we hope to bring on Gina Glantz soon of Gender Avenger, who has apps and now has developed an app for online so that that people can be sure they're having enough, not enough, but more than, this is great because by doing so, by featuring so many women, we're bringing attention to the great work they're doing. And so many of the doctors that you've had, Sree, I don't know if it's all of them. Are they all been women? I don't know. The medical doctors have, many of them women. They've been so terrific. So very proud of that. Thank you.
Yeah, and by the way, this is the point that we make, right? It's all intentionality, right? We go to get the best people. If they happen to be women, that's great. But we will never have a manel on the show where there are like 3+ men just talking around. There's no reason to. We see the pushback all the time, even in recent days where there have been multiple manels online, and they say, well, we couldn't find a woman. And then we say, that's because you didn't try hard enough. And you haven't. And men should refuse to go on shows where they don't ask how many women are on the show, who else is on the show. You have that obligation. The thing that men will ask is who else is there, to see if they're peers and their stature and all that crap, instead of asking about who else is there, what other voices can you lift up by participating. And that's one of the great things that we've been able to kind of work on, and we're very, very grateful. But the work isn't done. Why should it be 91 women and when it could have been 105, 110, etc.? That doesn't mean that we don't have great men on the show, but this is one of the things we can control as opposed to regular television. And so we're very, very proud of that. And also women of color, men from different places, women from different places, all of that is the intentionality of these two producers working so hard to make that possible. And we're very, very grateful. 155 people have graced our show, and that's incredible. And I'm so grateful to them and so grateful to you. So I think we're done. Otherwise, we'll just keep going. Let's read the last comments, and then we'll go. Renee says, Rose, thank you for your energy that you put into the show. Vincent just woke up in Chennai. Do check out the little audio news bulletins we at Mylapore Times put out on our site. We'll check it out. Fernando's watching from LA. Fernando, would love to have you on our show at some point, because we know that LA is an important part of the story, and they're not opening up like everybody else. And Ankit says hello and great. And Robert says you're too kind. And Daryl is remembering my Blog Talk Radio days. I did 250 episodes of Blog Talk Radio, and now Mark is doing them as well, which is wonderful. Marjorie says, shout out to Sree, congrats on your 75th show, and fellow alum and students of Sree and Tim Sohn, which is great. Patricia says, outstanding results. Look forward to episode 100 and counting. Send us your ideas. What could we do for episode 100? What would be meaningful? What would be impactful? Should we raise money? Should we do something else? Should we have like the world's biggest celebrity that we can find? All of that is possible. We need your ideas. These two producers are going to help us. Sree says, got distracted with other work, came back to say congrats on your 75th anniversary for valuable work you guys are doing. Susanna says, hope the show goes on after the pandemic. Thank you. Very
That's 3 votes.
Sorry?
3 votes for continuing after the pandemic.
Exactly. Very interesting to wake up listening to a valuable talk along with your guests. Monica says, check out email I sent you regarding another show idea. Wonderful. Thank you. And Marjorie says, impressive accomplishments and commitments. Fernando says, my pleasure. And so everyone, please support the show. We appreciate you support it by watching, but we also can support it by sending us guest ideas and sending us sponsor ideas. So if you know someone who should be sponsoring the show, who would like to get their word out in front of a big group of people around the world, this is your chance to send them our way. We did this when the first 31 shows had 300,000 viewers, and now we are way ahead of that. Look how inexpensive our ad rates are. Just email me, Sree@Sree.net. But these inexpensive ad rates makes it possible for me to pay and support great producers and have this. We are very, very grateful. Steve says, I don't look a day over 74, which I love. And we are just very grateful to everyone. So with that, I'm going to let these two folks go so I can thank our sponsors one more time. And any final words for now, Rose? Because we will be back on the air very soon. We have great guests this week. And
let's see. I have a very short poem that's called a tanka about my just in the interest of poetry and just to share. It's called May Tanka, which is a Japanese form, and it says, a new garden might be deadly. Last fall, I found 10-foot plants with dark berries. This spring, I learned they are pokeweed. They are poisonous.
Nice. Very nice. A new garden might be dangerous. Poem by Rose Horowitz. All right. And so now doing a live extemporaneous poem is Vandana. No, I'm kidding. You don't have to do anything, but give us some final thoughts for now, Vandana.
Yeah, thank you everyone who's been watching, and thank you, Sree, as well. This has been an incredible learning opportunity as well, just to like come on here every day and learn so much. With regards to our conversation today, like what we've been talking about, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but there's this Indian journalist named P. Sainath who did an incredible interview recently, and there was this one line that he said that kind of summed up the pandemic and all of its experiences for me. And he said how agonized we are when people die, but how unbothered we are about the way they live. And that's been pushing me to just be more conscious about all of the issues the pandemic is kind of laying bare in front of us right now.
So right, and Sainath is an amazing guy, amazing journalist who has inspired me for so many years, and he's been a guest on my other show on our read along about 4 years ago, where he talked about his Citizens Radio and other great things that he's doing. So if you can, Vandana, I'd love to have him on our show. On this show, so please reach out to him if you have time, and you can track him down.
Talk about righteous anger. Nobody embodies righteous anger the way P. Sainath does.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say that today, because you were working so hard here, you're live on the show. We weren't doing the live tweeting, but I want to show everyone what the effect of live tweeting is when these ladies are doing it. We've had 2,000 tweets. 700 contributors, 3 more people. If you tweet today, you can join this. And we've reached 15 million people with the reach of their tweets, and including duplicates, that's 55 million people that we have reached. And let's look at some of the main words that people have been using. We'll just look at this. I know that you folks haven't seen this in a long time, but here are the top words: global, daily, talking, great, producers. Hey, look at this. You're producers. You're on there. And film, talk, book. I don't know what the dry was about. Or mom, or Carol, week, life, day, 9 p.m., 4 p.m., trustee. Look at all these words. Free love, or maybe it's free and love. I don't know. But meet, story. I love some of these words, and they're inspiring in their own way. And thank you. So we'll let you guys go. Let me thank our sponsors, and let me get back to all the other stuff.
Thank you, Sree. Thank you
very much. Bye-bye. Bye. Thanks everybody for watching. Let me end by thanking our sponsors for all they do. Susanna says the show must go on. Steve says, I love that poem. Rose, looking forward to trading garden stories soon. Ashok says, great quote from Sainath. Mark says, looking forward to having Roberta on our podcast to talk about her amazing journalism and activism work. And she praised you in our dialogue about getting her on. Roberta is a friend of 25 plus years and an inspiration to me in what she's had, the career she's had, the impact she's had on the world. And now she works at the Virginia Interfaith Center for Public Policy. All right, so let's thank our sponsors. First, we want to thank Sonali Chitre, and her ad is for her consulting company, which is called Priyamvada Sustainability Consultants. And I'm just going to take off the banner here so that we can read the ad properly together. This is very different in the way I do this. In a professional setting, there would be an entire department that does a lot of this stuff. But let me tell you about Priyamvada Sustainability Consulting. PSC believes that deploying clean technologies provides a viable solution to solving the climate change crisis and creating sustainable development. Green technologies reduce greenhouse gas emissions, increase energy efficiency and use of renewable energy sources, provide sustainable infrastructure and transportation solutions, promote better waste management and recycling, increase building efficiency, reduce pollution, improve public health, and of course, create green jobs. Please go to clean-futures.com and let PSC become the Chief Sustainability Officer for your company. PSC, Priyamvada Sustainability Consulting, and Sonali Chitre, thank you for your support. I'm super grateful. clean-futures.com. And we would love to feature your ad on this show. So please email me, sree@sree.net. You see the email address right over here. And please do join us. And we would love to run your ad. And we also want to thank the folks at Muckrack for their Fundamentals of Social Media free certification course that I'm teaching with Linda Bernstein. We are teaching that on early July. It's free certification. Save your seat by going to mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social. Anybody in the world, any age, any experience, any background would benefit from this Fundamentals of Social Media for journalists, PR pros, and everyone. So please check that out. We'd love to have you join us. 3,000 people have already signed up. And finally, a reminder that if you would like a show like this, or you have a show, a conference you are canceling, or you want to put on a webinar, hire a team that knows what they're doing. We'll help you convert your events into virtual events. We'll help you make your own live web show. We can be 10% of your production or 110% of your production. Talk to us before you cancel your in-person events. We can help you with consulting, training, and so much more. All right, folks, that's the end of day 75. It's hard to imagine 75 days of this, but we made it through only because of you and your support. I am so, so grateful. I will never forget this, no matter what happens and where this goes. I promised to do this show as long as we were under lockdown in New York, or I didn't do it until I got COVID. And there's still a good chance of anything happening. And we said in the show that we will cry sometimes, we will laugh, and you need to do both because it's so hard to be in lockdown. Human beings are not designed for this. We are designed to be socially close. In this case, we're socially close, but physically distant. And I am so humbled by this journey of 75 straight days. And a big, big shout out to my family, even though they kicked me out, for letting me do this and be part of your everyday opportunity to talk about COVID-19 and everything that's happening. And we would love to stay in touch with everybody. And Mark has already signed up. It's his second certification course. He's already taking a COVID contact tracing course from Johns Hopkins. And Roberta says, congrats. And with that, I leave you all. Thank you so much for watching. Please tag your friends. Please share them with them. They can watch this. And please sign up to our YouTube account. SreeNet is the account, and you can just hit subscribe and you get all the the shows right there. And finally, if you are more creative in your use of WhatsApp, you can get my WhatsApp alert. It is not a WhatsApp group, one of those racist groups that may be filled with your racist relatives. This is not what it is. It is just a WhatsApp alert, a gentle alert whenever we're live, so you know we're live. So please take a look, pull up your phone. If you have an iPhone, just point the camera at it. If you have an Android, you know how to use your QR code reader or your Google app. And with that, we say thanks very much, everybody. Goodbye, 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 goodbye.